Okay, so following my video from a couple of days ago, I've read through a lot of the comments and a lot of people saying test your USB extension cables, try different USB ports on your PC, change your batteries in the remote controls, general troubleshooting stuff, which is really good, and it's really good to get some feedback. Since then I've done all of those things, so I've moved the adapter to a USB port, still USB 2. I've changed the USB extension cable I'm using, and I've changed the batteries, and I've tested after each one of those. And unfortunately, the symptoms have not disappeared. Whilst testing, I noticed something new and something interesting though, which I think could be related. Now, the thing I noticed is that the lights on the top of these rings are very similar between the left and right. There is only a very slight change that I can see, and that is that the right controller has a larger gap here than this one does here, and that gap is mirrored on this side, and again the lack of gap is mirrored on this side. Now when you're looking at these controllers, those are pretty much the only lights you can see, and although in VR you can see these inside lights here, in real life you can't see them, and neither can the sensors, because there is that bit of plastic that sits here on the controllers, and it occludes these two lights. Now that's the piece of plastic that holds the ring to the main controller. Now in addition to that, my index finger sits here, and sometimes it occludes just one light, sometimes it occludes both, but generally there is some additional occlusion from that. Now the thing that I've noticed is that if I move this controller again, I'm just going to use my right one, it happens with both. If I put that one behind my back and I wait for it to lose tracking, the time that it causes the most glitches is when I'm holding my controller like this, and that is because those two bottom lights are occluded on the inside of the ring, and the ones over by my index finger are also partially occluded. And there we go. Already it's lost tracking. And what it's also doing is moving both the left and right controller as though they are the left. Now, to me this says that it can't be the Bluetooth, because this is purely down to the visual tracking that is causing this problem. It's just following the same ring, and again if I move it quickly it shoots off into different directions. But what I've noticed is that when it does this, I'm just going to try and get it to do it again, if I turn the controller sideways it instantly stops doing it. And as soon as I turn it back that way again, come on, there we go, it starts doing it again. If I turn it sideways the other way, it stops doing it. Turn it back that way, and it usually starts doing it again. It's showing me up on camera now, but there we go. So when I turn it this way, that piece of plastic that I'm trying to get the other controller to come back into tracking now, it's being a little bit slow. So both controllers are in front of me like this at the moment. Come on. Might need to hide both for a second. There we go. So the piece of plastic that sits in the middle here occludes that bottom light, but when you turn the controller sideways, it's no longer occluding those lights, and you can see, and the cameras can see, all of these lights down the inside. Now what I've noticed is that no matter how hard I try, no matter what I do, it will never, ever cause this tracking problem when I'm pointing the controller this way round. Because this way round, the camera can see all of these inside lights. There is no occlusion at all. And I have never been able to replicate this problem with the controller turned this way around. So yeah, I think the problem is not to do with Bluetooth, but is instead to do with the lighting ring on these and occlusion of these inside rings, and the tracking getting confused about whose lights these belong to.